In Search of the Miraculous by P.D. Ouspensky, Chapter 3. Man has no permanent and unchangeable I. Every thought, every mood, every desire, every sensation says I. And in each case, it seems to be taken for granted that this I belongs to the whole man, and that a thought, a desire, or an aversion is expressed by this whole. In actual fact, there is no foundation whatever for this assumption. Man's every thought and desire appears and lives quite separately and independently of the whole. And the whole never expresses itself for the simple reason that it exists as such only physically as a thing and in the abstract as a concept. Man has no individual I, but there are instead hundreds and thousands of separate small I's, very often entirely unknown to one another, never coming into contact, or on the contrary, hostile to each other, mutually exclusive and incompatible. Each minute, each moment, man is saying or thinking I, and each time his I is different. Just now it was a thought, now it is a desire, now a sensation, now another thought, and so on endlessly. Man is a plurality. Man's name is Legion. The alternations of I's, their continual obvious struggle for supremacy, is controlled by accidental external influences. Warmth, sunshine, fine weather immediately call up a whole group of I's. Cold, fog, rain call up another group of I's. Other associations, other feelings, other actions. There is nothing in man able to control this change of I's, chiefly because man does not notice or know of it. He lives always in the last I. Some I's, of course, are stronger than others, but it is not their own conscious strength. They have been created by the strength of accidents or mechanical external stimuli, education, imitation, reading, the hypnotism of religion, caste, and traditions, or the glamour of new slogans, creating very strong I's in man's personality, which dominate the whole series of other weaker I's. But their strength is the strength of the roles in the centers. And all I's making up a man's personality have the same origin as these roles. Roles being ROLLS. They are the result of external influences, and both are set in motion and controlled by fresh external influences. Man has no individuality. He has no single big I. Man is divided into a multiplicity of small I's, and each separate I is able to call itself by the name of the whole, to act in the name of the whole, to agree or disagree, to give promises, to make decisions with which another I or the whole will have to deal. This explains why people so often make a decision and so seldom carry them out. A man decides to get up early, beginning the following day. One I or a group of I's decide this, but getting up is the business of another I who entirely disagrees with the decision and may even know absolutely nothing about it. Of course, the man will again go on sleeping in the morning, and in the evening he will again decide to get up early. In some cases, this may assume very unpleasant consequences for a man. A small accidental, I may say promise, a small accidental, I may promise something. A small accidental, I may promise something, not to itself, but to someone else at a certain moment. simply out of vanity or for amusement, and then it disappears. But the man that is the whole combination of other eyes, who are quite innocent of this, may have to pay for it all his life. It is the tragedy of the human being that any small eye has the right to sign checks and promissory notes, and the man that is the whole has to meet them. People's whole lives often consist in paying off the promissory notes of small accidental eyes. Eastern teachings contain various allegorical pictures which endeavor to portray the nature of man's being from this point of view. Thus, in one teaching, man is compared to a house in which there is a multitude of servants, but no master and no steward. The servants have all forgotten their duties. No one wants to do what he ought. Everyone tries to be master, if only for a moment. And in this kind of disorder, the house is threatened with grave danger. The only chance of salvation is for a group of the more sensible servants to meet together and to elect a temporary steward, that is, a deputy steward. This deputy steward can then put the other servants in their places and make each do his own work: the cook in the kitchen, the coachman in the stables, the gardener in the garden, and so on. In this way, the house can be got ready for the arrival of the real steward, who will in turn prepare it for the arrival of the master. The comparison of a man to a house awaiting the arrival of the master is frequently met in Eastern teachings, which have preserved traces of ancient knowledge, and as we know, the subject appears under various forms in the parables of the Gospels. But even the clearest understanding of his possibilities will not bring man any nearer to their realization. In order to realize these possibilities, he must have a very strong desire for liberation and be willing to sacrifice everything, to risk everything for the sake of this liberation. To this period, that is, to the beginning of the St. Petersburg lectures, are related two interesting talks. On one occasion, I showed G a photograph that I had taken in Benares of a fakir on nails. This fakir was not merely a clever juggler like those I saw in Ceylon. Although he was undoubtedly a professional, I had been told that in the court of the Aurangzeb Mosque on the banks of the Ganges, there was a fakir lying on a bed studded with iron nails. This sounded very mysterious and terrifying, but when I arrived, the bed with iron nails alone was there, without the fakir. The fakir, I was told, had gone to fetch the cow. The second time I went, the fakir was there. He was not lying on his bed, and so far as I could understand, he only got on it when spectators came. But for a rupee, he showed me all his skill. He really did lie almost entirely naked on the bed, which was covered with rather long, sharp nails, and although he evidently took care not to make any quick movements, he turned around on the nails, lay upon them on his back, his sides, his stomach, and obviously they neither pricked nor scratched him. I took 2 photographs of him, but could give myself no explanation of the meaning of this phenomenon. The fakir did not produce the impression of being either an intelligent or a religious man. His face wore a dull, bored, and indifferent expression, and there was nothing in him that spoke of aspirations towards self-sacrifice or self-torture. I told all this to G, showing him the photograph, and I asked him what he thought of it. "It is difficult to explain in 2 words, answered G. "First of all, the man is not, of course, a fakir in the sense in which I had been using the word. At the time, you are right in thinking it is not altogether a trick. but he does not know himself how he does it. If you bribed him and you tell him, if you bribed him and made him tell you what he knows, he would probably tell you that he knows a certain word which he has to say to himself, after which he is able to lie down on the nails. He might even consent to tell you his word. But it would not help you in the least, because it would be a perfectly ordinary word, which would have no effect whatever on you. This man has come from a school, only he was not a disciple. He was an experiment. They simply experimented with him and on him. He had evidently been hypnotized many times, and under hypnosis his skin had been rendered first insensitive to pricks and afterwards able to resist them. In a small way, this is quite possible, even for ordinary European hypnotism. Then afterwards, both the insensitiveness and the impenetrability of the skin were made permanent in him by means of post-hypnotic suggestion. You know what post-hypnotic suggestion is. A man is put to sleep and told that 5 hours after he wakes up, he must do a certain thing, or he is told to pronounce a certain word, and that as soon as he does so, he will feel thirsty, or think himself dead, or something like that. Then he is awakened. When time comes, he feels an irresistible desire to do what he has been told to do, or if he remembers the word that was given to him on pronouncing it, he immediately falls into a trance. This is just what was done to your fakir. They accustomed him to lie on nails under hypnosis. Then they began to wake him and tell him that if he pronounced a certain word, he would again be able to lie down on the nails. This word puts him in a hypnotic state. This is perhaps why he had such a sleepy, apathetic look. This often happens in such cases. They worked on him perhaps for many years and then simply let him go to live as he could. So he put up that iron bed for himself and probably earns a few rupees a week. There are many such men in India. Schools take them for experiment, generally buying them when they are children from parents who gladly sell them because afterwards profit from it. But of course, the man himself does not know or understand what he is doing or how it is done. This explanation interested me very much because I had never before heard an explanation quite like this. In all the attempts to explain fakir's miracles that I had come across, whether the miracles were explained as tricks or otherwise, it always assumed that the performer knew what he was doing and how he did it, and that if he did not speak of it, it was because he did not want to or was afraid. In the present instance, the position was quite different. G's explanation seemed to me not only probable, but I dare say the only one possible. The fakir himself did not know how he worked this miracle, and of course could not have explained it. On another occasion, we were talking of Buddhism in Ceylon. I expressed the opinion that Buddhists must have magic, the existence of which they do not acknowledge, and the possibility of which is denied in official Buddhism. Entirely without connection with this remark, and while I think I was showing my photograph to G, I spoke about a small shrine in a private house in Colombo, in which there was, as usual, a statue of Buddha, and at the foot of the Buddha, a small bell-shaped ivory dagoba, that is, a small carved replica of a dagoba, hollow inside. They opened this in my presence and showed me something inside it that was regarded as a relic, a small round ball, the size of a large shot, carved, as I thought, out of ivory, or mother of pearl? G listened to me attentively. Did they not explain to you what this ball meant? He asked. They told me it was a piece of bone from one of Buddha's disciples, that it was of very great antiquity and holiness. It is so, and it is not so, said G. The man who showed it to you either did not know or did not want to say. It was not a piece of the bone. It was not a piece of bone, but a particular bone formation, which some people get round the neck in the form of a necklace as a result of special exercises. Have you heard the expression, Buddha's necklace? Yes, I said, but this means something quite different. The chain of Buddha's reincarnation is called Buddha's necklace. Yes, said G, that is one meaning of the expression, but I am speaking of another meaning. This necklace of bones, which encircles the neck beneath the skin, is directly connected with what is called the astral body. The astral body is, so to speak, attached to it, or to be more accurate, this necklace connects the physical body to the astral. Now, if the astral body continues to live after death of the physical body, the person possessing a bone of this necklace can always communicate with the astral body of the dead man. This is magic, but they never speak of it openly. You are right about their having magic, and this is an instance of it. It does not follow, of course, that the bone you saw was a real one. You will find these bones in almost every house, but I am telling you of the belief which lies at the bottom of this custom. And again I had to admit that I had never before met with such an explanation. G drew a small sketch for me showing the position of the small bones under the skin. They went in a semicircle around the back of the neck, beginning a little in the front of the ears. This sketch at once reminded me of an ordinary diagrammatic representation of the lymphatic glands in the neck, such as can be seen in anatomical charts, but I could learn nothing else about it.